Yarde's success at attacking high guards was put on full display against Benavidez. He effectively used probes to measure distance and pins to keep his guard stationary before eventually setting up power punches both through and around the shields. When he wasn't prioritizing offense, Yarde would use circle jabs towards Benavidez' strong side while keeping his feet stationary and hands at home while he safely got off the 50-50. When he wasn't using circle jabs, he would control or check Benavidez' wrist with his lead hand so he could safely turn and pivot to a new angle. Although a less common tool in his arsenal, Yarde did often use disengagement traps during the fight to bait and time Benavidez' penetration step either as or after he landed on the front foot while entering range. As a result, he frequently made him reset by breaking his base and knocking him off balance, mostly with stab jabs. Benavidez made this easier for Yarde due to his frequent tendency to crosswalk into range. With each step, he broke his baseball out of a boxing stance until he finished the step to return back into stance, while briefly becoming heavy on the lead foot. He didn't make Yarde's job any harder when he occasionally walked in squared, which only made him a bigger target while having limited maneuverability. During the film study series, it was established that Yarde had little to no chance of winning if he kept ending with his back against the ropes. Unfortunately, due to constantly backing out in straight lines, that's exactly what happened, which resulted in him staying on the line of attack, keeping him at the mercy of Benavidez' relentless pressure. When he wasn't caught on the ropes, he was caught in the process of getting to them while still at mid-range. While we also noted he is able to use alternative methods of disengagement, it was his frequent reliance on backing straight out in his past fights that made the issue all but guaranteed to show up.
From any fighter that I watch, that I'm gonna fight, the first fight I immediately go to is their best fights. Whoever it is I'm fighting, I go and look for their best weapons. I go see what they do good and what they do bad. Obviously, the fight that we watched first was Benavidez. We picked up from that he has a good left hook. Anthony Yarde does a lot of stuff good. He has good defense too. So we're preparing for the best Anthony Yarde that's gonna be available. So, I'm ready for whatever he does.
When on the ropes, Yarde would often try to counter Benavidez coming in with the counter lead hooks. When doing so, he often had tells or frequent habits that would reveal his intentions. His most consistent tell is that he would probe with his rear hand before retracting it to throw his lead hook. The issue is that he would almost always do this while remaining stationary and keeping his head on the line. As a result, Benavidez would time the probe and either catch him on the same side it was thrown with lead hooks, either as or before Yarde returned his rear hand back to his chin, or take the quicker approach and land a lead cross once Yarde fully extended the probe. Other times, Yarde would preemptively just raise his rear hand towards his chin before throwing the counter lead hook, in which Benavidez would also time with the lead cross. While Yarde had occasional success countering and rolling Benavidez' shots with the Philly shell, more often than not, his use of it gave him more trouble than what it was worth. For starters, Yarde would often be squared up in the Philly shell. Without having a bladed or narrow stance, he was unable to properly use his lead shoulder to lean and roll off Benavidez' rear hand. Even when he would be in a bladed stance, he lacked the defensive timing necessary to employ the shoulder roll or parry jabs with his own rear hand and would get caught anyway. Lastly, when he tried to duck mid-range or duck and smother in the shell, Benavidez often denied this through the use of shoulder and neck frames, creating space and shortening his shots to land offense. As the fight started to occur more often in the pocket, the end seemed near for Yarde. As expected, he struggled to deal with Benavidez' physicality and typically ended up on the receiving end of his controls. He would often shell up in an inactive high guard and get brutalized by Benavidez' hellacious combinations. Which eventually led to the ref having to step in and save Yarde from further onslaught. While Yarde did what he could to hang in there, his inability to mitigate Benavidez' pressure and stay off the ropes is what ultimately made winning a near impossible task outside of catching Benavidez in between shots. His clear deficiencies in the Philly shell led to him taking far more punishment in a relatively defensive guard, among having clear tells when throwing his signature counter lead hook that Benavidez capitalized on. While I do believe the issues that were pointed out in the pre-fight film study were apparent, I would also argue that Yarde seemed a step slower than he was 2 to 3 years ago, showing signs of diminished reflexes as well as a possible decline of punch resistance, likely due to the brutal wars he's had with previous champions such as Kovalev and Beterbiev, but that's just my opinion. All in all, another great performance from David Benavidez against his third consecutive top 10 ranked light heavyweight opponent. Hopefully, we get to finally see him against the cream of the crop at light heavyweight or even cruiserweight, but only time will tell. Peace.
Fight fam. Boxing is called the sweet science for a reason. Every slip, every counter, every trap, it's all hidden in the details. At Boxing Gems, we break down those details frame by frame so fans can see the art behind the fight. If you enjoy our YouTube film studies and want to go deeper down the rabbit hole, Patreon is the place. It helps us keep producing high quality breakdowns without worrying about algorithms, and it gives you exclusive access to the content that can't make it on the YouTube. Get extended live stream breakdowns with more detail and analysis. Ask your own questions in the 24/7 chats, decide what fights or fighters we cover, and get personalized private analysis. Gain access to our thriving betting community as well as Boxing Gems weekly picks and much more. Your support means we can keep studying the sport we love and showing why boxing is the most beautiful science. Join the Boxing Gems community on Patreon and let's keep breaking down the fight game together. This is Ryan, professional boxing analyst and founder of Boxing Gems Film Study. Film don't lie.